Mary, you can take it away anytime.
I was talking, my bad. Okay, so today's discussion revolves around membership. And that's why we entitled it Reached Out in Touch. And this is from a diversity and inclusion standpoint. We want to look at ways campuses do their recruitment and in an effort to enhance diversity and inclusion within the sorority. While we can't mandate what you must do, we provide this information and sharing opportunities on what is possible. So again, this is going to be a sharing dialogue because we understand that some campuses are doing novel things and we want to provide additional methods and some other opportunities that you can think about in ways you can enhance and increase your diversity numbers. Are we ready to go? Everybody good? I can't see anybody, so.
Here we go. Yes, we are ready to go now.
Okay, so I'm going to hand this over. Again, my sorority sisters, our sorority sisters from Howard University have agreed to assist me in this endeavor, and they have a PowerPoint presentation they want to share with us, and this will be some dialogue as well. All right, take it away, Christina. You ready?
I am pressing present. I'm trying to figure out how to present the screen. So you need to give me like 2 minutes to figure that out.
Hey, Christina.
Yes.
If you need some assistance, if you email me the presentation to executive director@phisigmarho.org,
Okay.
I can probably pull it up for you.
Okay, I'm doing that right now at this current moment.
Okay.
Okay, so while we're doing that, let's, I can't see who all's on the call, but let's just start. I'll start with, I will start with Christine Jackson Mooney. Can you provide to the audience what's one thing you would encourage actives to do when they are in their recruitment mode for membership?
Good morning, or no, is it afternoon now? Good afternoon, everyone. Yes. In the recruitment mode, I think the biggest thing that you can do is to be excited about who you are personally and as a chapter, and be present. So be out everywhere. You can't do recruiting inside of a meeting room or inside of a dorm. Wearing your shirts, having different paraphernalia that has Phi Sigma Rho, talking among women that are in your classes, women that you may see in other places, if in fact they are in whatever majors your chapters might entertain, just having that conversation and making people on campus aware of the sorority and why it makes sense to be a part of Phi Sigma Rho versus other sororities on campus. Because again, it's that whole what's in it for me kind of a thing. What sets us apart from the other sororities on campus? So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Christine, for that. Okay, so I need, I want to get an active. There, I need an active to talk about what you're doing on your campus. Naran, you want to take this one for me? What are you all doing that's novel and that's working?
Well, I actually just crossed this past fall, and so I haven't really had a hand in recruiting yet, but I will say, from my experience, it was just, we had a lot of events that let us get to know the sisters, you know, before we became sisters. And I think that was something really important because it allowed us to establish connections and judge whether or not it was a good fit for us before actually doing so.
Here we go.
Specifically, can you identify one activity that you really liked that you would like to carry forward?
This feels like it was a long time ago, but I do remember one of the first days, it was more of a networking event. So they gave us a bingo card that had different things on it, like somebody who's left-handed, or somebody who recently read a book about this, or somebody who's from this place. And so you had to go around the room and get people who, you know, fit into those categories to sign the bingo card, and you can only have everybody sign once. So I think that was something really fun, because it allowed us to learn things about people that you normally wouldn't think about asking at a first glance.
Thank you for that. I think, are we about ready for our slide? If not, I'll ask another active. I see Rebecca Palmer up. Rebecca, tell us where you're from and what one activity is good that works well at your campus for recruiting. And
I'm a
what
2018 alum. Do you want
you're
me to
alum.
do you want to
Yes.
go to some?
No, I mean, you got it. What did you do that you enjoyed?
So I was director of recruitment at the Purdue Alpha chapter back in 2016. And I think one thing that was really important was making sure everything that you do is very purposeful. It's great that you all have a color scheme for your recruitment, very cute photos, but what does that really provide to the quality of the sorority and the sisterhood that you're getting through that recruitment process? And so that's fun detail. And I'm not saying you can't have a color scheme, but really focus on, why are we asking the questions that we're asking? What are we going to do with the answers to these questions? What can this person contribute to the sisterhood, or what can we do for them? And really focusing on those values in that relationship instead of just all of the pretty things around you, because that's entertaining and it's aesthetically pleasing, but it's not going to find you those core relationships.
Okay, thank you for that. So here's my follow-on question. When you see that your new recruit group is not as diverse, what things do you have in place to remedy that?
I think for us, I would say that was something we hadn't really talked a lot about back in 2016, probably as much as we should have. But I do know that we were working in the Greek community at Purdue is trying to incorporate the NPHC a lot more in the Greek life activities, and making sure that we were going to activities across the campus and all of the sororities and fraternities, not just the IFC and the panel and council ones. And so we were trying to build more of those relationships. So I graduated and they were doing more of that, but I haven't seen as much of the follow-up.
Let's see.
Kelly Williams.
We shared the slides.
Are we ready for the slides now?
I believe so.
Okay, if we're
Does
ready,
chat have them?
let's see. I can't tell. Oh, are the slides, are you ready with the slide or no? Kat, the question was asked, LaDeja was asking, did you receive the slides okay?
Sorry, I got bumped off for just a few minutes. So I got it and I'm pulling it up. Just give me 1 minute.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
Sorry.
And so while we're doing that in the background, Rebecca, that was very good information that you gave. And so that's one of the things that we want to talk about, because we all know the demographics. When we pull our membership numbers, we know what our numbers look like. And so now we want to use this opportunity to be very intentional to make sure that we are reaching across the entire demographic on your campus. So that's why I was asking the question, and it may be a good question to ask a Purdue active. What are they actually doing with respect to the question I just posed to you? Because I understand that, now that you're out of school, but it's good to see that the work has started. We just need to be able to track where we are. to make sure that we are, representative of the entire sorority, right? Every sister, just every sister with like I talked yesterday, every sister that has, that could be a potential member is somebody we want to reach out and touch. Okay, here's our slide deck. Okay.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Reach Out and Touch Part 1 event. It's a conversation about diversity and inclusion within Phi Sigma Rho National Sorority. You can move to the next slide. Okay, so a little introduction about the presenters. Hello, everybody. My name is LaDeja Thompson. I am a senior at Howard University from Phi Chapter.
Hello, my name is Niran Ramaya. I am a junior at Howard University, Phi Chapter.
Genesis, you might be on mute.
Hello, everyone. My name is Genesis Smothers, and I am a senior at Howard University, and I am a part of Phi Chapter.
Hi, everyone. My name is Christina Clark, and I am a senior at Howard University Phi Chapter. And then it's Marquis. Okay, and then Marquis is also a senior at Howard University Phi Chapter. Next slide.
Okay, so what exactly is diversity and inclusion? So before we give you guys some advice and some tips to expand your diversity within your respective chapters, we want to first make sure that everybody knows what diversity and inclusion means. So to be diverse means to show a great deal of variety, and inclusion is the action or state of including or of being included within a group or structure. So what does diversity and inclusion look like within the context of our sorority? Diversity can be a number of things, not just race. You can have a diversity of culture, diversity of races. You can have a diversity of disabilities, sexual orientations, and so many more. You can have a diversity of ages, socioeconomic backgrounds, and even religion. Next slide. So why is diversity and inclusion important? Diversity and inclusion gives us the opportunity to live outside our comfort zones and get to know new people. And by getting to know new people, we get to gain new perspectives and grow within ourselves. And a diverse group of thinkers leads to better problem solving and helps to diminish discrimination. So we are stronger together. Next slide. So diversity within the context of Phi Sigma Rho. So by joining this sorority, you made a conscious choice on your own, just like everyone else here, to become a member of this organization. And this sorority was not created upon the basis of excluding others based on their race, culture, sexual orientation, or disability, or any other characteristic besides gender and major. And by joining this sorority, you have made the conscious decision to call me your sister, and I have done the same. So we have to be committed to accepting everyone for who they are and supporting them while also holding our sisters accountable for their actions. Next slide. So what are some ways you can improve diversity within your respective chapters? So first of all change starts from within, and you must make the decision to want to understand everyone, all your sisters, for who they are, and to commit to having an open mind to new things, as well as make the decision to change for yourself. Not everyone is perfect, but change ultimately starts from within yourself. You can encourage people to change all you want, but if they don't want to change for themselves, they will never fully commit. So what you can do is to initiate a conversation with a peer. It doesn't have to be a conversation geared towards a person's experience with discrimination. It can literally just be a conversation with someone to get to know them. So take a chance and come out of your comfort zone, and most importantly, be intentional with what you do. And make everyone feel welcome before, during, and after rush, and ensure that everyone feels visible and that you value holding your sisters accountable for their words and actions. Be flexible to changing your view or notion if someone brings something to your attention that might have been offensive to them. And make sure that those who are leading you and on the e-board are a diverse group of women. not only in appearance, but in thought as well. Next slide.
So one way you can be intentional with your sorority, well, with your chapter, is collaborating with organizations. There are many different student organizations created for minorities and underrepresented people and groups. Partnering with some of these organizations on a regular basis can help show your support, and you'll honestly most likely end up learning something from it. Next slide, please. These are some that may be on your campus. I do want to say at first that, you know, every campus is different, so you may or may not have some of these organizations, but I encourage you to look for and ask around, see what your campus has. So for example, we have the NAACP, which is the largest civil rights organization in the nation. Many campuses have Black student unions, which are essentially just on-campus organizations designed to encourage cultural diversity. Next slide, please. Here are some more examples of organizations. There's NSBE, that's the National Society of Black Engineers. It's actually the largest student-run organization in the world. We also have SWE, which is the Society of Women Engineers. And then things like OSTEM, which is a organization dedicated to LGBTQ plus individuals within STEM fields. And this is something that many people may not know about, but there are also Divine Nine sororities, which are typically they're African American groups that they encourage. I think maybe somebody else should speak on this part because I don't know a whole lot about it since I'm not currently involved in one. Maybe Christina or Genesis.
Yeah. So Divine Nine sororities are very similar to like sororities like Phi Sigma Rho and other Canada-linked sororities, except they have a focus on uplifting and encouraging the Black community. And so they encourage sisterhood and scholarship just like our sororities, but they are just a safe space committed to Black females on college campuses.
Thank you, Christina. And next slide.
So with diversity and inclusion comes with gaining a new perspective. It's one of those things where you have to look at your own actions and look at your own words and how you say them and how they may be perceived by other people. And so I have honorable mention videos because these are also some really good videos to look at to garner a different type of perspective on how other people are perceived in society and how we perceive each other, how we think about the world around us. But this clip right here is from a show called This Is Us, and you can click it now to play it.
Okay, hold on. If it doesn't play, if there's no sound, I might have to do something else, but hold on.
Okay.
Can you guys hear it?
No.
Okay, hold on. So then I didn't know there was a video, so hold on 1 second. Okay.
This year, I get to do kindergarten with Dad! This year, my classroom's gonna be in space.
Oh, I remember this trip.
Can everybody hear it now?
Yes.
Yes.
Your father took the twins and Randall out on the lake, remember?
No, Mom, it's not the twins and Randall. It's the kids, or even just Kevin, Kate, and Randall, okay?
You okay, honey?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just tired.
Well, it's not just tonight. I mean, since I've been here, you haven't seemed like yourself. Is everything all right with you and Jack?
Yeah. Never better, actually.
Then what's going on? Now, you don't call home much anymore. You stopped coming to see us for the holidays. You don't seem very happy.
I am happy. We're all very happy.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm your mother. I'm allowed to worry. Who would have thought that Randall would be the one to get into private school?
I'm sorry. What does that mean?
Yeah, nothing.
Okay. All right. You want to talk about this? Do you want to know why we don't come home for the holidays anymore? It's because of you. You constantly criticize my family. I am not a good enough cook. I don't clean well enough. Jack doesn't provide. You're gonna most certainly give Kate a complex about food. And Kevin is gonna think that his only value in life comes from how he looks. And all of that is fine. All of that I can sort of explain away to the kids, but Randall tries so hard to get you to like him. And honestly, I've always wondered if the reason that you never bonded with him was because he was adopted. But you've made it alarmingly clear that it's because he's Black.
That is an appalling thing for you to say.
Just because he's Black doesn't mean that he likes basketball. He likes football, like the rest of us, okay? And you gotta stop constantly separating him from Kevin and Kate. They're all my kids, okay?
I'm sorry. I call them the twins. That's what they are.
And Dora, our maid Dora. She wasn't just a child that you had to train how to speak. She wasn't. She was a 50-year-old woman who had 4 kids of her own.
I can't talk to you when you're being hysterical.
And St. Mary's, right? We went to St. Mary's my whole life, and then suddenly at 16, we switched churches because we got a pastor from Ghana.
Oh, for God's sakes, I couldn't understand the man's accent, Rebecca.
When the snow is gone, I want you gone too. Because I will not expose Randall to any more of this crap.
What are you talking about?
You're a racist, Mom. You're a racist. Sweetheart. Sweetheart, I thought that you were upstairs.
Hey, now my first chicken pox.
Okay. All right. Let's take you back upstairs and I'll put some calamine lotion on, okay?
So that video was just to showcase that there are little things that we all do that other people may perceive as anti or discriminatory. And so that's something that we have to look within ourselves, analyze our own actions, think before we speak. And it's an everybody problem. I do it sometimes, and there's just different things that we have to make sure when we're self-reflecting on ourselves. Next slide, please. And so these are just a few facts, nothing crazy, but in October 2019, a report in Los Angeles Times found that during traffic stops, 24% of Black drivers and passengers were searched, compared with 16% of Latinos and 5% of whites. And the same study also found that you're more likely to find drugs or weapons or contraband among whites. And Black people are arrested 5 times more than white counterparts. And that's because Black and minority communities are over-policed. So you're going to find more crime in communities where there are more police, which makes more sense that 5 times more Black people are arrested. So it's one of those things where you have to look at the different perspectives, because sometimes we're only presented with the facts on the left and not looking at the other side. Okay, what's on the of what's on the right. And so it's one of those things where there's 2 sides to every story. you have to look on either side of the coin kind of thing. There's a different side to everything that happens. And that's where diversity and inclusion is, when you can see those two sides. You can, and make sure you're holding yourself accountable to make sure you're holding yourself accountable to understand, or even just make sure you're educated on those two sides. And diversity and inclusion comes from making sure that we want to include everybody regardless of the way that the world perceives them, or how you grew up, or just how they were perceived in the past. Next slide, please.
Is Markia here?
Yeah, I can't see the slides though. Wait, oh,
Okay.
there it is. Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Markia Walker. I wasn't able to introduce myself earlier. I was driving, but I'm a senior at Howard University. And another part of diversity is recognizing that we're not just talking about race, but we're also talking about disability. So, excuse me. Disabilities are commonly left out of the conversation when we talk about diversity, specifically like among colleges and organizations on your college campus. So as a part of recognizing that, we just wanted to give you all a couple of resources to look up on your own about disability, just so that we can become more aware and more active on our part, and recognizing that disabilities are a part of the conversation when speaking on diversity and inclusion. So the first one is Dream Disability. You can follow them on Twitter. They also have a Pinterest page, which I think is pretty cool. I'm on Pinterest a lot, so that works for me too. But Dream Disability stands for disability. Disability rights, education, activism, and mentoring. And it's essentially just an organization where their aim is to advocate for student rights, increase accessibility, social and like policy change, and they aim to provide support and mentorship to local campus disability groups. In addition to that, the next one that you see on the screen is the American Association of People with Disabilities. That's more of a, they're focusing on like the legal matters when it comes to disabilities, such as the American Disability Act, and focusing on ensuring that the rights of disability people are being met and that they're being readily served. Also, in addition to that, it's not on the screen right now, but Ali Wong, if you look her up on Instagram or a quick Google search, anything like that, is a really known disability activist. She's an Asian American woman, and if you look her up, she's like sitting in a wheelchair is her most popular picture. I'd say she's in a wheelchair and she has a ventilator over her mouth if you look her up. But she's really known. Her Instagram page that she has is called Disability Visibility. It's also a blog that she runs where she focuses on showcasing the stories of people with disability throughout the nation. So you can go there and you can look at their stories, read their stories, hear their stories, because she also does podcasts in order to understand just what daily life is like for people with disability, and then how also we as allies can help in their fight for rights, and then also just being more aware of how we can go about our everyday lives, thinking of them and being helpful towards them as well. So yeah, next slide.
So, allies, you can be one too. Allies are not just influencers or celebrities. They can be everyday people who take action against injustices. There are various forms of allies. However, today we'll be covering how to be an active ally, someone who promotes change within their chapter. And the quote that we chose for this is, "To be the change you wish to see in the world," by Gandhi. And then I want you to remember that allyship can start small. Begin by recognizing ways in which you can change your everyday language to avoid incidental microaggressions. Next slide. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So encouraging members, well, here's some ways that you can be an active ally. Let me just say that. You should start by encouraging members to stay engaged in issues surrounding race by signing petitions, having tough conversations within the organization, and by making active decisions to remove bias from your membership selection. Creating safe spaces within your social media for members to have open conversation is a large part of active allyship. And so what I mean by creating safe spaces within your social media for members to have open conversations is, let's just say you see a news article, open up a quick Instagram question tab and find out how people feel about this. Maybe it needs to be a discussion in one of your meetings. Maybe you can just stay an Instagram thing and you can share the discussions and have back and forth discussion between people on your social media. Social media can be a powerful tool in allyship, and I think that especially within your sorority, within Phi Rho, your social media has the largest presence and voice of who you are in your chapter, so that's something that you should use as a part of becoming an active ally. Next slide. Okay, and here are some great resources to refer to whenever you may need some inspiration. And you can go ahead and like take a picture of this. I don't know if the slides are going to be shared with other people, but At Impact on Instagram has really great visual guides to different topics. They're not just racial topics. They're topics dealing with, things we talked about in this, disability, sexuality, things like that. At ZWEF on Instagram does a lot of corporate and like analysis. So she sits down with a lot of corporate America and she tries to like root out different biases that they may have towards just diversity and African Americans. So a really great tool. At Alluring School on TikTok, I just wanted to let there be a TikTok reference in here because I know that that's a really popular social media. He does everything. He's just a great social media person he deals with a lot of topics. The Educate Yourself Today website is a website for people who aren't quite sure how to start becoming an active ally. I recommend it a lot. And then if you go on Google and you Google Allyship Starter Kit, it's a Google Doc with hundreds of links that you can click on, and you can just go through there and figure out what tickles your fancy. Next slide.
So we also wanted to discuss diversity within culture. And so we know there are an abundance of different cultures, and we must be open to learning about a new culture and learning the whole person. And when you join a sisterhood, you have to be open and willing to coming out of your comfort zone and getting to know your sisters and their background. And most importantly, to be genuine when you're doing this. And a quote that we found really impactful was, cultural differences should not separate us from each other, but rather cultural diversity brings a collective strength that can benefit all of humanity. Next slide. Oh wait, that was the one before. The next one. Thank you. So cultural appropriation. So this is a term that's been floating around a lot recently. Cultural appropriation / misappropriation is the adoption or taking specific elements of one's culture by another culture. So when we talk about putting on programs and events, we want to make sure that we aren't appropriating another culture because it can come off as insensitive or disrespectful. So think of some of the events that you may have that might be misappropriating another culture, maybe like a Cinco de Mayo event. It's all right to appreciate a culture, but you want to make sure that you're understanding its historical context and seeking to understand why a culture does what it does. And this all goes back to the point about engaging with other cultures. And you can do this by meeting new people and learning more about them. Next slide.
So one question people may have is, how can we respect and support those who align with different sexual identities? I think one important thing is using their correct pronouns. So one thing I recommend is that if you're not sure what their pronouns may be, you just ask first. Most people are very receptive of that. Additionally, I think it's a good idea for everybody to put their personal pronouns in their social media bios. For example, mine says she/her, because even though I am a cis-het person, it's good to normalize the use of pronouns in everyday life so that everybody is aware of the issue. It's essentially just spreading awareness. Another good idea is to ask somebody what name that they're using that day. This doesn't go for everybody, obviously, but there are people who are more fluid with their identities. So, one day they might go by Chris, or the next day they might go by Crystal. So it's really, that one's more so once you are having relationships with people who are more fluid, you should know them, and you should know that they might prefer different things on different days. Another thing is, don't say or ask things that you wouldn't of a cis person. For example, you shouldn't comment on how well a trans person is passing or different aspects of their transition, because even if you think they're compliments, they draw attention to things that somebody else may be very self-conscious about, and it's just not a comfortable feeling to have. And another thing is, remember that sex and gender are not the same thing. So sex is a physical or biological set of characteristics, while gender is a social, cultural, and mental thing. And sex does not determine gender. And it's always important to understand that there are differences between the two, and using them interchangeably can be harmful. Next slide, please.
So we wanted to end off with getting questions from the audience, but we first had a question for our national leadership and founders who might be on the call. Yesterday, we received a question from one of our sisters, Kellen, and she asked, many groups have recently brought attention to legacy policies and how they can disadvantage Black, Indigenous, people of color, and potential new members. Since we were founded in 1984, how and if so should we address our legacy policy? So I just wanted to open the floor for any answers that any of our national leadership or founders might have for this question.
If you're speaking, you're on mute.
I guess so I kind of answered a little bit in there. I'm not actually a fan of legacy because I don't, oddly enough, I don't actually feel like we should treat people special. But I think everybody should join on their own merit. I believe that that it's a positive thing for an introduction, so we make sure that they get invited to whatever's going on. But I don't particularly believe that it should be an automatic rebid or whatever. They shouldn't get any preference when it comes to actual bidding. But that's just a personal thing. It would be interesting to hear if there are any legacies on the call that have been through the process and feel differently. But yes, I can see how, especially we started out fairly diverse. As I went through, looked at different chapters, many of the and they had their things on the wall of all of the different people that have been every year. We went through kind of shall I say, a white phase. In the sorority, I think we're maybe doing a little bit better, but at least we're doing better about thinking about it now. But we do have a fairly diverse background. But anytime there's a bubble, you can potentially, the legacy thing can potentially re-whiten the whole concept or the whole sorority. So I'm actually more concerned about just getting good people rather than the legacy idea. But I'll shut up now.
Thank you for that
Hi,
answer, Abby. Is there anybody
sorry.
else? It's all right. Go ahead.
It's Christine. A couple of things. Being one of the charter members of the sorority, obviously, I am a person of color, and I really kind of agree with Abby. I have been looking at some of the comments that have been made in terms of the potential. When you think of a legacy, we already know that there are so many, I should say, there's already a lack of people of color in engineering related majors, so that believe that there would be less people that would be legacies. I get all of that. But at the same time, again, agreeing with Abby, I'm probably more concerned with making sure that we have the right people, regardless of their ethnicities, that are a part of the organization. I do think that the sorority, from what I've seen over all of these years, we are doing much better with our diversity, and at the same time, still adhering to that high quality standard that we know that we want to have for the sisters within the sorority. I have a lot of friends that are in the Divine Nine, and there are a lot of legacies that are there. And I can tell you, I really didn't think about it until we started having our conversations for what we're looking at legislatively. I got to tell you, I would really probably prefer that legacies aren't prevalent, if you will. The legacies that we have, if in fact we do choose sisters and they happen to be a legacy, that is wonderful. I think that's great. Do I feel that they should have preferential treatment? I do not. My opinion. But again, I do know legacies that are within the sorority, and the legacies that we have are absolutely phenomenal women. But I do believe that they are a part of the sorority because of who they are, not because of the fact that they are a legacy.
Would anybody else like to answer the question before we open up the floor for other questions? Okay.
Roxy, you're on
So-
mute.
Sorry, I was on mute. I'll chime
Okay.
in for a minute if you don't mind. Yeah, I have to admit I was surprised by the question yesterday. It pleasantly surprised, because to have to think about the fact that we're getting to the point where there's more and more legacies, that's a great thing. And it's something that I hadn't envisioned. I agree with what Abby said and what Christine said. I don't agree with people getting preferential treatment. That being said, though, I've got to tell you, I was reflecting on this. I have two daughters who were not on campuses that had a Phi Sigma Rho, but if they had been, and they tried for membership and they were not chosen, I'm just being totally honest, it would have hurt me. So I don't have an answer to your question. I agree in theory with what Abby and Christine are saying, but from an emotional mother level, I haven't formulated my thoughts around it. But I did want to just chime in because you did specifically ask for a perspective from us. So thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I saw someone ask a question in the chat. They asked, what are a couple takeaways that we can bring back to our chapters to be more mindful of diversity and inclusion, especially through recruitment? So for me, I really feel as though just being genuine, there aren't really specific, like, there isn't really a specific answer of what you can do. It all depends on everybody's campus. Everybody's campus is different. But my main thing is just when you're seeking out recruits, just to be genuine, just to be open to everybody and making sure everyone feels important in the room. Try your best to not exclude anyone. and just basic things like that. I don't know if anybody else could answer this question or provide any insight, but that's the main thing that I could say is just be genuine. There were a lot of other things that we put into the presentation, and I'm sure we'll share the presentation with you so you can have some more specific things to take away. But that's my comment on the question.
And then I'm gonna jump in here too, because that's the whole title of this presentation was Reach Out and Touch, right? Because if you're not reaching out and touching everybody that could be a potential sister, you're shooting yourself in the foot. So you have a plethora of categories to choose from, right? It doesn't have to she doesn't have to always be a Black sister, but she can be a Black sister, Latina sister, religious differences that's in, if she's a Muslim sister that's in your classes taking, that's taking classes too. Any sister that's in your classes that may have a disability, right? Just make sure when you are doing your rush and you looking for new sisters that you're looking at everybody. Don't exclude anybody. Open up your pool. So that is the easiest way for you to meet your objective. Now, is it easy just to talk to who's in your immediate circle? Most certainly. But then you're not getting the desired outcome. I hope that helps.
And another thing is kind of piggybacking off what Mary said, this is titled Reach Out and Touch. And I think that you should also take the time out to reach out and touch your sisters who aren't here right now and just open up the conversation with them, because they're going to be helping you in recruitment. And so having those active voices behind you that understand the issues, even though they may not be here, will be very important. And even if they don't understand, just, encouraging them on ways that they can get informed and can begin understanding is really important. Does Abby have her hand up?
Yeah, Abby has her hand up.
Okay.
I do, thanks. I had one more comment that I wanted to make in that reaching out sorry, what are you talking? Oh, reaching out and touching, reaching out and talking to people, not just for recruitment, but just as a general thing, that reaching out to people who are different from you in your classes and in your everyday experience, and having friends that outside the sorority that are also diverse, and including them in your world helps make the people who you're recruiting feel like it's not just a token thing, that it's that you really are dedicated to diversity and inclusion. So it shouldn't just be a thing for recruitment, but it should just be a part of our everyday nature as women of Phi Sigma Rho, that we live diversity and inclusion in the people that we interact with.
We have 6 minutes left.
Okay, there's another question in the chat that I wanted to answer. Someone asked, my school doesn't have the best representation of people of color. So how can we be more inclusive as a chapter when the school is dealing with their own issues from a high level perspective? So in terms of your school, the first thing I would think of, since your school isn't that diverse, I would say reach out to high schoolers, seniors in high school, maybe do some volunteer work there at different schools where, there's more of a diverse background. You can encourage the women at those schools to maybe want to join the sorority and look into the sorority if they choose to come to your school. That was the first thing that popped in my head. If your school isn't immediately diverse in itself, you can do outreach in other areas, like female seniors in high school. Did anybody else have an answer for that question or an idea about that question?
So I would say that this kind of goes back to the slides about partnering with different organizations, because you might not even be aware of them at this point, or your school actually might not have many diverse organizations. But the point here is that if your school does have those organizations, then partnering with them can really help expand your network and recruit more diverse women.
Yeah. And another thing that you could do is, so we see all these issues going on in the world right now. You can educate yourself on those and bring that awareness to your campus. So the problems in Beirut, in Yemen, and obviously the Black Lives Matter movement. Also, Native women being missing right now, going through a lot of stuff. Also, military women that are being mistreated and nobody's really looking at it. So it's part of those. You have to make sure like you educate yourself on that, and you can bring that to your campus. That's also part of diversity and inclusion, making sure that you're aware about it and you're not just standing idly by. You're making sure that other people on your campus are aware of it, and that shows that you're including everyone. That shows that you are not to just stand by idly and just like, well, it's my problem because I'm not part of it. That's also where diversity can come from. And it shows that your chapter actually does stand for all women, everyone that makes something. So I definitely look into starting fundraisers to donate to the different organizations or just having informational things or programs. So I would look into that as well, because it's sometimes I understand that a lot of campuses, because this is a big and small, so you're not going to have as much diversity as you think you would have sometimes. So it doesn't always have to be just a campus. You can spread awareness, show solidarity to everything that's going on in the world.
Thanks, Ronnie and Genesis. So there's one last question that I wanted to get to. We have 3 minutes left. The last question was, when we do info sessions or call outs, would it be helpful to include a statement about our anti-discrimination policy? I would think that would be helpful to have, just to make sure everyone's being held accountable and that you're reminding your recruits that this is something that you have put in place. I don't think we have a specific role within like our leadership, but it would be nice to have maybe someone that recruits could go to, or the sisters could go to. Just have one person who is responsible for reporting any issues of discrimination, or if anybody feels any type of way about any situation, that they have that person that they can talk to, and then that person can be a liaison for the rest of the group to bring up this issue and just basically be a mediator for the situation. I definitely feel like that would be helpful for the group. If anybody has any other answers for that question.
No, I think you did a really good job on that. We're in our last minute, so I'm going to wrap up this session and just say thank you, Howard, for leading from the front and putting together that spectacular presentation. I appreciate the new terms that I learned about was allyship, and I think that is something that we all can take away to our different campuses and in our lives, right? You see something, say something, speak up, right? Be a friend. Be genuine, and the resources that you provided. I also learned something about Educate Yourself Today. That's a website that I'm going to personally start using. And there's one other thing I wanted to say. Thank you for making sure that everybody understood the importance of what inclusion really looks like, because people often think about it in one lens. So inclusion encompasses more than one lens, those with disabilities, et cetera, et cetera. So it's now 3:00, and I want to remind you as we close to make sure all actives, you are required to fill out your session feedback. So make sure you do that. And I know that I've seen something in the chat already about providing the presentation for historical repository reading reasons. And then we have Reach Out and Touch session 2, correct? So whatever we didn't talk about today, we're going to follow on and ask in the second session. We're going to have more of a dialogue based on the things that we learned today. What dialogue? We're going to have some dialogue so we can discuss what things can we actually do on our campuses to improve diversity and inclusion within a sorority. And if that's it, you all have a great afternoon, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Bye-bye.
Thank everybody for coming.
Thank you, guys.